We have to take a look at how are we situated economically and what is the benefit for the village, the benefit for all the surrounding communities, and for the benefit of Lorain County.
Welcome to episode 68 of the LoraineCounty.com Insights Podcast. I'm your host, Ed Skibbon. Before we get into today's episode, I want to thank the LoraineCounty.com champion sponsors: Lorain County Community College, Lorain County JVS, Lorain County Commissioners, Emerge Inc., Community Foundation of Lorain County, and WOBL Radio. Today, we're talking with Mayor Bob Markovich, Mayor of the Village of Sheffield. Join us as Mayor Markovich talks about the unique character, challenges, and aspirations of the village, including the importance of strong safety services, attracting non-smokestack businesses for economic growth, and enhancing community amenities such as sidewalks, athletic spaces, and a potential recreation center. He also shares his leadership approach to fostering a culture of growth and efficiency among village employees. Sheffield Village benefits from a steady flow of people who pass through each day, and its prime location is driving new residential, commercial, and economic opportunities. It is also part of the broader growth taking shape in Lorain County. With the $1.5 billion expansion at the Ford, Ohio assembly plant set to add 1,800 jobs and launch commercial electric production by 2026. I've had the privilege of knowing Mayor Markovich for several years and have always appreciated his insights. From his annual State of the Village address to thoughtful conversations at events hosted by the Lorain County JVS, Leadership Lorain County, and Lorain County Community College. His leadership is strengthening Sheffield Village while contributing to progress across the entire county. Here is my conversation with Mayor Bob Markovich.
Bob Markovich, the Mayor of Sheffield Village.
Welcome, Mayor Markovich. Thank you for joining us and sharing your insights. To begin, how would you describe the character of Sheffield Village, and what do you think makes it a unique place?
The character of Sheffield Village is unique in and amongst itself because we're a village surrounded by cities, right? You got Sheffield Lake to the north, you've got Avon to the east, Elyria to the south, Lorain to the west, Avon Lake to the north and to the east. We're situated what Mayor Hunter used to call the heart of Lorain County. And we've got many state highways that come through Sheffield Village. We've got I-90, we've got 301, we've got 611, we've got 254. On any given day, we have 100,000 vehicles that are going through the village. Although our population is less than 5,000 or thereabouts, in order to be considered a village, we have to make sure that we have the safety forces and the services available to suit all the stakeholders. We call it anybody that comes through, works in, drives through, lives in Sheffield Village as a stakeholder. So how do we keep them safe? How do we keep them secure? How do we make sure that they can drive through when there's snowstorms? And so that is one way that makes us unique. The next way that makes us unique is the fact that we have a lot of businesses in Sheffield Village. We have over 300 businesses. And of course, the creme de la creme would be the new Ford Motor plant, right? So Ford Motor Company invested north of $1.5 billion into the village of Sheffield, 2 million square feet of space, and they're going to build a vehicle. And that vehicle is going to be a commercial vehicle. And it's a state-of-the-art facility. Nothing else is like it. It is their premier plant in the entire world. And we consider ourselves the premier village in northeastern Ohio. So how do we take our roots, which are country roots, which are agricultural roots, and really move those into modern day, right? We have to take a look at how are we situated economically and what is the benefit for the village and, of course, the benefit for all the surrounding communities and for the benefit of Lorain County.
What are your key priorities right now in the city?
Continue to bring in businesses that are manufacturing based, non-smokestack business. We operate, most of our operating budget, our revenues come from income tax. We have 100% reciprocity in Sheffield Village, which means that if you work outside of Sheffield Village and pay 2% income tax in the city that you work in or the municipality that you work in, you don't pay us anything. So we have to capture revenue from employees that work in Sheffield Village. We've got a pretty broad spectrum. We're in the process of doing a survey in Sheffield Village. It's a very, very broad, robust survey. If you sat down and spent the time, it's going to take you an hour and a half because we want to know what's on people's mind. And if we take a look at the survey, the people in Sheffield Village want amenities that you would normally get from a municipality 4 or 5 times our size. We want to build sidewalks. I look at Bay Village, right? You look at Bay Village, everybody in Bay Village runs. Why do they run? Because they can. It's like Forrest Gump, run, Forrest, run. In Sheffield Village, you could run, but you're actually limited to where you could run to. In all actuality, if you wanted to run in Sheffield Village and you wanted to start right outside the mayor's office, you can get on that path and you can run all the way to the Maumee River. And you're going to be on trails about 95% of that way. You're going to have to do a little bit of streets through Norwalk, I think it is, but for the most part, it's a trail. But you could live where I live, and there is no way to get here except the main road. So how do I connect the people that live in that development in order to be able to get on the trail to be here? So again, we start off talking about economic development. We want to bring these businesses in because those businesses are going to help pay for those amenities. So that's one example of an amenity. Another example is we have very limited field space. So the Junior Football Cardinal organization, which is shared between Sheffield Village and Sheffield Lake, we've got well over 100 individuals that participate. We've got football players, we've got cheerleaders, and we've got very limited practice space. So we're fortunate that Brookside allows our kids to use their facility 1 day a week, but we have a hard time finding space. And then you talk about baseball, we're limited there. So what's the vision for bringing in more athletic space? Again, through this survey, we're learning, talking to the people on the street, we're learning. We have younger generation moving into the village. They have kids. The kids want to participate in sports. They're athletic. How do we find space and develop space to suit that? They want a rec center. Putting in a rec center, a village the size of Sheffield Village with 5,000 or less people, that takes a lot of money. I do not want to do anything with property tax. Everybody is upset by how much they pay in property tax already. In Sheffield Village, we get about $3 out of every $100. So it's a small percentage of property tax that comes to the village. I'd rather not do any type of property. That way you don't upset those that are retired as well. You're doing everything based on income tax and you're retired, you're not paying income tax. So how do we grow the way the people in Sheffield Village want to grow based on the space that we have to develop the businesses, that the manufacturing that we can bring in, and do it in a way that is affordable, that is going to satisfy the people that live in Sheffield Village, and it's also going to bring more people into Sheffield.
You're known for your focus on economic development, not just in the village, but in Lorain County broadly. What's your vision there?
If you remember back in the day when Lorain County as a whole was bustling, we had 2 Ford plants. We had the gypsum plant. We had American Shipbuilding. We had Fisher Body. We had a company that eventually became Terex. These companies were in Sheffield Village. And Lorain County was a growing county. And something happened. Whatever that something is, it doesn't matter. We know that we experienced a collapse or a downfall of economic viability in Lorain County. So now it's how do we get it back? And I'm excited about being on the cutting edge of bringing it back. We are right now working to, first of all, we got the goose that laid the golden egg. So we've got Ford Motor Company. We're going to get 11 to 1,800 employees paying income tax to Sheffield. I don't need the next Ford Motor Company. I want to be able to assist in any way that I can for the communities around us to nab those types of businesses. Ohio is now in the top 5 of all states in the union for economic opportunity. You take a look at Lake Erie, we've got fresh water right at our fingertips. If everybody is trying to grab their own slice of the pie, then you're going to be left with the slice of the pie that you have. If everybody works together and grow that pie, everybody's slice of the pie gets bigger. A rising tide raises all ships. If we continue with that old mentality that what's mine is mine and what's yours is yours, and you're not touching mine, or I'm going to get angry when you start touching mine, or I refuse to make a decision that is going to be okay for us but might help you out. If we continue with that mentality, then our growth curve is going to be slow. If we work together, if all the communities work together and say what's best for Lorain County is best for Lorain County, right? What's best for Sheffield Village is best for Lorain County. What's best for Sheffield Lake is best for Lorain County. If we all have that attitude and we work together, and we grow everything out based on that, then we can become a shining star. We've got, again, I say I've got the goose that laid the golden egg. I've got Ford Motor Company. Ford Motor Company is going to bring in businesses. I can count on one hand the number of businesses that are coming into Sheffield Village that are supporting Ford Motor Company. Yet I tell you what, you and I don't have enough hands to count the number of businesses that are coming in the general area into Lorain County that are going to be supporting Ford Motor Company. So that Ford Motor Company helps everybody out. Then you're faced with that challenge of housing. What goes on with the housing? So you really have to get outside of your comfort zone, and you have to put on a visionary mindset. Again, this is still under that line of economic development because you need people. Right? We got great fresh water. We've got good people. We need more people, right? So how do you bring more people in? So you have to have residential housing, right? We've got that 1,000-acre site that is all of a sudden one of the top 3 sites in the country for development. It's a great site for development. We need people. So as Sheffield Village, am I willing to say, okay, we need to open up some residential space? Or how do we best serve the community of Sheffield Village? We don't want to deplete our resources. So we have to look through a lens of how do we grow in a way where we could provide these homes for the people that are going to be working either at Ford Motor Company or any other business that we get in Sheffield Village, but also in supporting of that 1,000-acre site. Again, that 1,000-acre site is the goose that laid the golden egg for the entire county. And if we as mayors, if we as councils see that and row in the same direction, then I think everybody is going to benefit.
You mentioned there's over 300 businesses locally. What are you doing to help them thrive and grow?
That's a great question. So we had our economic summit, Sheffield Village Forward is what we called it, in May. And the whole idea there was to bring in resources for those businesses. So I know that we have several businesses in Sheffield Village right now that are using Magnet. So Magnet is a nonprofit that, you as a business owner could go to and say, hey, look, we need help developing space in order to build this product. And they'll come in and they'll work with you and help you design that. So I want to be able to bring in those resources. This is an example of an organization that can help. We work closely with the vocational school. Their vision is awesome, right? They see manufacturing growth. So how do we work together? We talk about employees. How do we get the kids from Brookside schools? How do we get the kids from Lorain schools to see that there's a great opportunity for manufacturing, and maybe send a slug of them over for them to get the training that they need there? How do we take some of these kids and send them to the Lorain County Community College in order to take advantage of some of the higher educational aspects of building chips and things of that nature? We need to have conversations with each business. We're actually going to be hiring a economic development person here in Sheffield Village. One of the jobs of that person is going to be going out, knocking on the door saying, how can we help? So the best way to do it is ask, how can we help? And then when they tell us how we can help, then go out and help them, right? Follow up.
What about housing? Is there room for more housing, and what's your approach to housing?
So there's a lot of room for more housing in Sheffield Village. We have a lot of residential real estate. The problem is that our residential real estate right now, the size of the lots is not conducive with development. Our lot sizes are fairly big. It's not the common way to do real estate now. So how do we take the space that we have and make it viable for residential development, whether that be houses or apartments or condos or townhouses? We really have to think outside of the box and run away from that old mindset that everybody wants a 100-foot by 200-foot lot. There are people that want it, but people that are moving to Lorain County in order to work at some of these jobs, that's not what they want. If they have any lawn and they want it to be minimal, they'd rather pay an HOA fee and not take care of anything. If we take a look at some of the development that we have off of Abbey Road, you see some of those houses like that, and that's what people want. And I can't believe the price point on those houses. We have a builder presenting an idea for an apartment complex in a space that's currently zoned residential. We have to change the zoning to multifamily. Whether we do that or not, council has to decide on that. But it's like, yeah, let's take a look at this opportunity. And the apartments that this guy is proposing, it's a great opportunity to build it in Sheffield Village if that's the way council chooses. We're willing to look at everything that we need to look at, but we have to understand that we do have to take a look at our costs because these people move here and they may or may not be paying income taxes to Sheffield Village because they may or may not be working. So what's our cost per household? A lot of these situations we're requiring off of Abbey Road there, they're privately owned streets. We're not going to plow them. So it's up to them. So we're outside of the box thinkers. What's the best way? And that's the direction that we're heading.
I know you mentioned the large number of cars that go through town. How do you deal with traffic, and how are you thinking about it even as you think about growth?
That is the issue, is that if you've lived in Sheffield Village for 20 years, you're not used to traffic. Now, if you live in Sheffield Village and you don't go anywhere between 7 and 8:30 in the morning, and if you don't go anywhere between 3:30 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you still don't have traffic. The question is, what about the traffic during those rush hour periods of time? We're doing a traffic study right now on Colorado Avenue to take a look at what's the best way to move traffic through the intersection. That would be 301 and 611 at those busy times of the day. And we just adjusted at 254 in 301, so Detroit Road and Abbey Road. We adjusted the lights there that moves traffic quicker. But then you move traffic through there quicker, and then all of a sudden, Seven Brew has a buy one, get one, and they're parked in the middle of 254, which we've got to stop that. So without a doubt, traffic is something that we have to keep our mind on, our eyes on. How do we move them through quicker? We're working with the state right now on Abbey Road to see what the next step is. Do we need to go 3 lanes there? And if we do need to go 3 lanes, how do we address that? We're even taking a look at the use of roundabouts. Is that going to make it easier to move traffic? Once again, we go to the engineers that move traffic and ask for help. And then we ask for patience for the people that live in Sheffield Village and understand that traffic is going to be heavy at certain times and you can avoid it. If not, have some patience.
You mentioned a survey. When you talk with residents, what are some of their common concerns and what positive feedback and ideas do they share?
Their number one common concern is traffic. Again, that they're only aware of that traffic if they're out in the street during those periods of time. The next concern is that they want more of a sense of community. When they talk about the sense of community, be more specific. Well, we want to be able to walk everywhere, number one, and we want to have a central location for people. We've gotten some grants to do some more paths and some more sidewalks. And we actually, from an economic development standpoint, we're taking a look at 3 different areas in Sheffield Village. We got to see what the impact would be. But if we start developing something that has that city center feel, even if it's something like mixed use, you have some retail, you have some business, you have some housing of some sort, and you put it together and you've got enough restaurants there where people travel there. And again, we want to make it accessible by walking. So someplace close to where our residential area is, we're looking into that.
Let's switch over and talk about you. What's your background?
I graduated in 1985 from Baldwin Wallace. My degree was in economics government, and I started out as a teacher. So I had a degree in teaching. I taught economics government and history, some geography at Elyria High. From that part, I really wanted to follow my economic pursuits. I went to work for a couple of financial companies, and eventually I worked my way up to running a division for the largest company in the world. It's a bad word now, AIG, which caused the problems in 2008. However, that wasn't my division. It was, I say, by the grace of God, that poor kid from Sheffield Lake was able to work his way up to run a division where we were doing $1.5 billion of sales. It was a pretty substantial division, and it was a great time of learning. It was a great time of getting trained in leadership. My desire to understand leadership goes back to my high school days. So in 1978, I was introduced to a book that Maxwell Maltz wrote. It was a leadership book. My love of leadership started back then. The name of the book was Psycho-Cybernetics. I still have a copy of it laying around somewhere. And it really began guiding me from a leadership standpoint. So when I got to that pinnacle at AIG, I was growing as a leader and then lost that job because of what happened in 2008. They got rid of middle management. I was middle management. And as a result of that, I decided to create a leadership company. From that standpoint was to grow leaders and really dive deep into what is leadership and how do we develop leaders. And through that, I learned that leaders are forged, and that word forged is good because when we think of forge, we think of high heat, we think of pressure, we think of eliminating toxin, right? So leaders are forged through very difficult times. So I developed a leadership company. It still exists today. We train leaders of all levels. That's my passion. On Thursdays, we call them Transformation Thursdays in Sheffield Village. And we have somebody that speaks about leadership. For the most part, it's an employee. An employee then has a half an hour on a Thursday to talk about leadership. And just because I've studied leadership for a long time and understand leadership doesn't mean that I know everything there is to know. I learn a lot when I listen to these people come in and talk. So we're trying to create leaders. We're trying to create employees that are leaders here. And our police and our fire have really jumped on that. And they attend these, they participate in them. And that leadership training, what it does is it makes you say, I understand leadership. Here's my idea of leadership. Here's what I've learned. Here's what I'd like to teach you. And then you become more bold. There's so many different facets of leadership out there. I like to use the word authentic as well. You need to be an authentic leader, which means that you have to take your gifting, your skills, your capabilities, and that's the direction that you lead in.
What led you to run for mayor?
I knew that John Hunter at that time wasn't going to run. I knew that there was a vacuum there. I knew the vacuum needed to be filled. I felt I had the necessary skills to fill that vacuum. I felt that my experience of being on council would give me somewhat of a head start. And as I learned, it's until you become mayor, you have no idea of what being a mayor is. People ask me now, how do you like being mayor? I go, I'm getting a PhD in leadership. I bet you there were, today alone, 6 different disruptions, 6 things that really caused me to say, oh no, I'm getting a PhD in leadership. I try not to let things bother me. I stay off of social media. People say things, being anonymous, and there's no repercussions. I'm not really taking the time to read something that somebody that doesn't have enough courage to call me on the phone and tell me it.
As mayor, what are you most proud of accomplishing?
I've been mayor for 1 year, 8 months, and 11 days. So I think that the biggest accomplishment is number one, we created this transformation. We also did a survey to all employees to find out what is the culture of Sheffield Village. And then we're able to analyze, okay, what do we need if we want to make the culture better? And then we also did individual personality assessments for every employee that wanted to participate to make sure that we have the right people in the right seats of the bus. When you come into a spot like this and there's about 80 or so employees that are full and part-time, some of them are there because that's just the natural flow of things. But how do you make sure that everybody is being effective, efficient, and productive? We have to start doing an analysis. We start doing an analysis, and now we can see how to rotate things, how to move things. So I think that my number one accomplishment has been that we've taken a mixed bag of tricks and we become more effective, more efficient, and more productive. And then creating a vision for the employees to look at. We're all on that page to achieve that vision, to be the premier village in Northeastern Ohio.
Going forward, what are your goals? What would you still like to accomplish?
The most apparent goal is that we're a village. We really feel that our math shows that we have more than 5,000 people that live in Sheffield Village. We think that there was an issue with the last census. So if that issue with the last census gets sorted out, we're going to be a city. So we're going to be a city in 2031. So it's how do we set ourselves up to become a city? You have 2 types of cities. You have a statutory city and a charter city. We are going to want to be a charter city. How do we spread the message to the people that live in Sheffield Village and say, look, this is what we want. This is what we need to vote on. This is what we need to get together for. We don't want to be fighting a battle where we start out as a statutory city and try to change to a charter city. That's just a battle that may not be attainable. But if we're a charter city, we have more control over what happens in Sheffield. I'm looking out into the future out there, right? So I'm looking into my next term. I don't know if I'm going to be reelected, but if I am reelected, I can't be caught with my pants down. I've got to be ready because during my next period of time, it's going to happen.
You've talked a lot about leadership. How would you describe your leadership style?
Very simple. My leadership style is transformational leadership. So transformational leadership If you look back, it was probably identified in the late 70s. So I was learning about leadership when this whole idea of transformational leadership became a type of leadership. And again, there's multifacets of leadership. So what exactly is transformational leadership? Transformational leadership is if I grow and change, if I become transformed, if every day I face every challenge head on authentically by being myself, because that's an important component of transformational leadership, is you have to be authentic. You have to know who you are. You have to know what your gifting is. You have to know what your skills are. You have to know what your communication is. And so identifying who am I authentically, and then, okay, I want to be transformative. That means I want to grow. I want to change. I want to be better tomorrow than I am today. How am I doing that? How am I learning that? What kind of research am I doing? What kind of reading am I doing? What kind of studying am I doing? I'm reading 3 or 4 books right now at the same time. And I don't read for fun, I read for growth. So a transformational leadership, if I grow and transform, other people are going to see that. They're going to transform. They're going to be encouraged to want to transform. They're going to see that I don't drive a hard no. If somebody come and ask me a question, I'm going to give them my opinion, but that opinion can change once I look into it. And number one, I have no problem admitting I'm wrong. I have no problem saying, hey, look, that decision would have probably been better to go this way. I want people to challenge me. And there's a lot of people here that have taken me up on that. Challenge me, vet me out. I am fully transparent too. That's all part of transformational leadership. Kind of later I am.
Outside of work, what are your interests and hobbies, and how do they help recharge you?
I love adventure. This past weekend, I spent with my 3 sons and my 2 sons-in-law, and we were out hiking in the Laurel Mountains in Pennsylvania. I love spending time in the outdoors. A year ago, I spent a week in the Darien jungle. It recharges me because it stresses you and it stretches you. It pushes you to your limit. I'm training right now. I want to do an ultra marathon. An ultra marathon is more than a marathon. So it's got to be more than 26.2 miles. So in March of next year, I'm going to do a 50-kilometer run. I've got a 22-kilometer run that I want to do in November in Elyria. That's going to be that first step for getting me to that ultra marathon. I've climbed 14,000-foot mountain. I've done Ironman, a half Ironman triathlon. I've run marathon. I push myself as hard as I can because oddly enough, it gives me energy. I've learned that the more afraid you are, the more you can push yourself to the limit, the more you become present. When I run now, I used to wear ear pods. I no longer do because I want to understand what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling. I want to be able to be present. When you listen to ear pods, it might give you a little bit of motivation, but you're not really present. I want to be present. I'm happily married. I've got my wife, Nancy. We've been married for 36 years. I've got 5 kids. The oldest one will be 35, and the youngest one is 26. My youngest daughter got married at my house in August this year. I made the food. I walked her down the aisle, and I was the officiant at my house on the dock that I built with my son, Luke. And then my last child will be getting married at the end of this month. We've got a great family. We've got great family traditions. We eat dinner together every Sunday. I love my kids have all chosen great spouses. It is a family environment unlike any other because you don't want to be the first one to say something wrong. Then you're going to be picked on. It doesn't matter if you're dad, doesn't matter if you're mom. That doesn't matter who you are. I love my family, and I love how they've all grown up, how they've all blossomed, and with all the daughter-in-laws and the sons-in-law.
Finally, where can people go to get more information on Sheffield Village and connect with you?
So that would be sheffieldvillage.com is our website. That's where they could go.
Well, thank you, Mayor Markovich, for joining us and sharing your insights.
Thanks for coming out and having a chat with me.
Thank you for listening to the LoraineCounty.com Insights Podcast. Each episode, we share conversations with the people shaping life in Lorain County, from business and government to education, nonprofits, healthcare, and entertainment. Be sure to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. You can also visit LoraineCounty.com to discover local events, volunteer opportunities, and more community resources. If you know someone who's making a difference in Lorain County, send us a note at podcast@LoraineCounty.com. We would love to share their story and insights. Special thanks to our producer, Leah Gerke, and to you for listening. This has been the LoraineCounty.com Insights Podcast, conversations with the people shaping Lorain County.